I'm pretty much sure that you've been told that you cannot scale an e-commerce brand on Facebook ads if you're not using video ads, but that's actually not true, because as you can see right now on the screen, we were able to generate these results only by using static ads. Zero video ads, UGC ads, or AI video ads were produced for these brands that you see right now, and all of these results were coming only by running static ads. So in this video I will show you the exact strategy and system that we use to generate these results only by running static ads. I will also show you how to actually create winning ads on Meta that will help you scale your budget while maintaining an amazing return on the ad spend. So make sure to stick until the end of the video, because I will go into the details to make sure that you actually understand the entire system process that you can use as well to generate the same results. And without further ado, let me jump now on my screen and I can show you exactly the system behind this. Alright, so these guys are some of the results that we'll be able to generate with this system. As you can see, 20k spent in 15 days in February with a 4x return on the ad spend. This is like a smaller account. And then we have this bigger account here where we're spending like in the last 30 days. This is February, and we spent almost 270k generating almost $1 million with a 3.65x return on the ad spend. And these results here were generated only by using static ads, generating over 40% in net profit margins for our clients, with zero videos, zero UGC production cost, and zero credit spent on AI UGC tools. So the goal here is to basically cut down the production cost from $500 per creative to 10 or 20 per creative, of course by using static ads. In this way you will decrease your operational cost and increase your net profit and your margins. Now let me frame something here before going into the details. Meta Andromeda now killed media buying and created more job for creative strategies. If you work with agency or media buyers that only focus on ads management, you're basically just cooked. That's why we in our agency, of course, take care of ads and creatives for all our clients. There is no way someone can just manage the ads without actually telling you exactly what creatives you need to produce, or in our case we produce ourselves for our clients, so just basically much faster. With Meta Andromeda and Gem, you need creative volume and quality. There is no way you need either one or the other. You need both. Unfortunately, you need both, guys. I know you've been thinking about like which one is better for me. Do I need more volume or more quality? Well, the answer is that you need both. And most brands actually that I see at 3x ROAS are spending way too much money on production. And in reality, you can easily spend 100k a month with static ads only and keep the production cost very low, which basically means bigger profits for you, of course. And this is the goal of this video. I basically want to help you to maximize your profits, because that's something that you can easily do by cutting a lot your production costs in UGC, paying creators or the editor and all the other things. Now let me actually go into the issue with static ads. So the issue is that they tend to target more middle funnel and bottom funnel. So if you don't know what you're doing, and this is very important, you will end up finding a revenue ceiling at 20-30k a month. That means that you're gonna basically start spending good results, and then here at 20k a month or 30k a month in ad spend, you will find a ceiling. So you cannot scale above this while maintaining a good or above the target return on the ad spend. Now don't get me wrong, videos are still very important, and we work with many creators and AI tool to create them, but for some other brands we only use static ads, and that's how we can maximize their profits, which is exactly what I want you to do after this video. Cool, so let's actually start by pointing out the main issue that I see right now for e-commerce brands. Most e-commerce brands basically fail because they copy what their competitors are doing, and the process looks something like this. So they see what competitors are doing. Let's take this brand for instance, take some ads as a reference, and then they replicate, and something doesn't work for them. So basically these things don't work. They launch the ad, everything looks fine, but doesn't work. Okay, so why this is basically happening and why you should not actually follow this process. Meta Andromeda target people based on visual and message. So let's say you have this ad, you take this ad and you copy it, you adapt it for your brand and replicate for your product. What is going to happen is that your ad here is going to target an audience, as you can see here, that is overlapping with the other ad that has already been running and targeted the same audience. So you're basically going to target the same audience that was already targeted from the other brand. So you don't have any competitive advantage. So see it like this. Ad 1 started days or week ago, got more data, and got a lot of fresh impressions. Ad 2, which is the ad that you just copied and launched, started now, that has no data, goes to the same audience that already bought product 1. So you're trying to go against the same audience here and try to convince them to buy your product as well. So these things, guys, is actually not going to work because you don't have any competitive leverage against your competitors. Another issue that I see is that brands that use static ads, they do it without considering the user awareness stage. And this is, I think, like even more important compared to this one, because like you probably should know already that you should not copy ads from your competitors, to be honest. But this part here is the most difficult part. Why? Because static ads usually tend to target more middle funnel and bottom funnel, which is normal. But the biggest misconception on Meta ever is that people think that static ads only target middle funnel and bottom funnel, which is not true. And as you can see here, this is like a screenshot here. As you can see, this creative spend like 3K, 1K, 2K, 3K. And as you can see, the frequency is all below 1.8. And of course, there are even other creatives that spend the same amount of money, like all these static ads as well, that have a frequency of 2, 4, 6, 8, and of course these are targeting more middle funnel and bottom funnel. But as you can see here, low frequency also means low return on the ad spend. High frequency also means higher return on the ad spend. That's simply because if people see more your ads, this ad is basically targeting more like a smaller audience, which is more like down the funnel, and then of course it's going to convert much better compared to ads with a lower frequency. But the ads with a lower frequency are basically fueling your top of funnel. So if you stop the ads, let's say this ad here, there's a 2x ROAS, and then you compare with this with a 4x ROAS. If you stop this one, this ad here will stop perform, right? So when you create static ads, you need to consider this, because this is something that it needs to go within your creative development and creative strategy when you actually go to create the static ads. So if you've been trying to use static ads and you basically cannot scale, the reason why is because you've been focusing only in middle funnel and bottom funnel. I pretty much bet that if you now go check all your static ads inside your ad account, you check the frequency, most likely the frequency is way above 2. I'm pretty much sure about it, unless you're spending like 50 a day or something like that. Now, the issue is that you might see a good ROAS here, which is good, of course, but creative fatigue is much faster. So you launch an ad, it works for a week, and then performance are down. That means that you cannot scale. Or if you try to increase the budget, the creative fatigue is even going to be faster, and so your creatives die even faster. That means that you cannot scale in any possible way. So what is the actual strategy and approach that you should follow? First thing first is that you need to distribute ads across different user awareness stages. My favorite split is 50% on top of funnel, 30% on middle funnel, and 20% on bottom funnel. Why do I like this kind of split? Because when you create ads for top of funnel, you have the percentage of ads here that actually reveal to be a winner. So winner ads in this stage means ads with a frequency less than 1.8 and a ROAS above the target. So the issue here, above target, the issue here is that to find winning ads at this stage is much more difficult than find winning ads at this stage or at this stage in terms of percentage. So you need to test way more top of funnel ads in order to be able to scale the account. Because if you focus only on testing middle funnel and bottom funnel, you will be basically stuck within the same audience all over again. So you need to find the ads that allows you to unlock the scale. And these ads that allows you to unlock the scale are the ads within the top of funnel. That's why you need to test more here. Now, this is the way that you need to look at your static ad when you actually create them. So the first thing that you need to identify is your persona. So you need to do more research and understand all the personas that you're targeting. Then for each persona, you want to have the angle. And actually here, you can have multiple angles for each persona. Then you want to write the message. The message is basically what goes inside the ad, so the message that the ad wants to deliver, and the message needs to be specific to the user awareness stage that you want to target. And then finally, there is the concept. The concept is actually how you're going to deliver the message with the audience, like visually. And so it needs to match the user awareness stage that you are targeting. So the message and the concept, which are the two elements here, this one and this one, are the two main elements that are going to define which audience awareness stage you are targeting. So let's say you're doing more top of funnel stuff. The angle that you're using can be used for many user awareness stages here. But the thing here is that the way they use your message and the way that you shape your concept is going to dictate which funnel stage you're going to target. So make sure that when you do this, you actually identify which funnel stage you need to target based on how your current creatives are actually splitted across your ad account. So if you have a very high frequency, most likely you need a lot of top of funnel creatives. So try to work more on top of funnel creatives. Think something like frequency below 1.8. Now, let me give you some more specific example for you to understand. So the persona is who the ad is actually speaking to. Think something like the expert, so the doctor, the coach, the founder, or the busy mom stressed at work and also she needs to manage a lot of family stuff, the corporate guy, the scientist, the I tried everything customer. So think about the specific persona that your ad is going to target. You need to understand what their pain points, this is very important, you need to understand what their pain points are and what their desires are. And these two elements here are the main things that you want to leverage when we create our ads. The second thing here is the angle. When you think about angle, think about what specific pain, desire, or belief you are attacking coming from the persona's research and for these two elements that I've just mentioned here. Think of the angle like the strategic entry point into the prospect brain. It answers what core emotional trigger are we using. So let me give you some example. Lose weight without giving up carbs. Fix the real hormone issue causing weight gain. Stop doing cardio, it's making you fatter. So this is the angle. So the way that we're actually tackling that specific issue or pain points or whatever we want to target. Each of these is a different angle, and one product itself can have many different angles. And testing angles for you is the highest leverage activity that you can do in order to maximize the audience exposure and the incremental reach that you need in order to scale. The incremental reach is actually one of the most important things when it comes to scaling. So the reason why you are stuck, you cannot scale only with static ads, is because you don't have incremental reach. Why? Because at this point, you find the ceiling here because you have a frequency above 1.8. That means that the moment that you increase the budget, frequency goes up. So how you fix this? You create more ads with a frequency below 1.8. And these ads here are going to give you incremental reach. Okay, means of course a little bit lower ROAS, but that's not an issue because we're going then to increase our ROAS with the ads in the bottom and middle of the funnel. Then the second element here is the message. The message is what do you actually say in order to communicate a specific angle. So if the angle is lose weight without giving up on carbs, the message could be something like you don't need to quit bread to lose fat, or still eating pasta? Good. Carbs aren't the enemy, your metabolism is. So the angle is the strategy and the message is the wording that you're going to use, so the actual copy that you're going to use to present that angle. And then finally, we have the concept. The concept is the creative packaging of the idea, creative packaging. So think about like the actual visual format, the visual angle that you use to present the message and the angle. Think about before and after split image, Twitter style screenshots, all the actual visual concept that you can think of when it comes to showing a static ad to your prospect. So now that we have defined everything here, so the entire strategy approach, we need to understand what is the actual ad creation process, which is the practical part. So first thing that you need to do is actually understand and decide which funnel stage you want to target. Again, the way that you need to decide here is read your data inside your ad account first and then see what your creatives are targeting. If you have like 80% of your ads going towards middle and bottom funnel, then you need more creatives top of funnel in order to expand the incremental reach for you to be able to increase the spending while keeping a very good return on the ad spend. Because if you don't have incremental reach, if you increase the spending, the frequency goes up, and so the ROAS goes down because you keep targeting the same people over and over again. So let's say here you want to focus on middle of funnel, just as an example. Then the next step is define the persona, the angle, and the message. So here you're gonna have your persona, your angle, and your message. At this point you need to build the concept. So you need to find the best concept that fit the combination of persona, angle, and message, and you're basically going to create your final ad just by using all these elements. So at this point here you need to go there and actually create the ad. So what is the process that I recommend? The process that I recommend is actually start from Pinterest. A lot of people actually don't do this, and the reason why a lot of e-commerce brands struggle with static ads is because they just copy what the competitor are doing, check all the different ad library tool, whatever they're using, send the design reference to the design, and then be like, hey man, copy this is the copy just done with ChatGPT, and wonder why the ads are not gonna work. So the actual process is you go on Pinterest first, and then here on Pinterest you want to find inspiration. So let's say here you're going to do some ads for the lose weight. So what you're gonna do, you want to find some visual inspiration. And so you need to actually understand how you can leverage the visual elements of the inspiration here and mix them with your actual production, with the actual static ad visual, to deliver the message in the best possible way. Think that when you want to deliver a message, so when you create static ads, people focus on copy. So the main issue here is that they create the ad, they put the copy, they refer to the message to target the specific angle, but the visual is not related to the angle. So it's just like a random visual. So think something like this. You have the visual, you have the product, and you have the copy, right? And then here, there is just the product image and the copy referring to the angle. Let's say lose weight with lose 20 pounds in 1 month, okay, whatever. Just showing the product. Of course it's not gonna work because there is no visual element into it. And so most likely this ad is going toward a middle funnel or bottom funnel. So of course it's not gonna work. Or actually it's probably gonna work for you, but you cannot scale the ad because you're going towards a smaller audience here. So let me show you some examples just to make everything much more clear. First example here is some top of funnel ad. So the persona in this case is a busy mom, 35 to 45, overwhelmed, no time to go to the gym. And the angle you wanna target is not lack of willpower, it's hormone timing. And the message, it could be something like, if you're over 35 and gaining weight despite eating less, your hormones, not your discipline, are the problem. And so you're gonna make an ad that looks like something like this, just like I'm not a designer, so I just made this ad by myself for you to understand. But you show the ad of the avatar that you're targeting. So the avatar should be shown in the actual pain point, because when your audience is gonna be looking at the ad, it's gonna be like, oh, that's exactly like me. And that's what you wanna trigger in your audience when they see your ad. And then of course you're gonna have your copy here written, and then you're gonna drive people to a landing page. And this is very important because another element here to consider is going to be the landing page, which is not going to be the topic of this video, but the landing page is also very important because you want to make sure that you're driving different people based on different user awareness stages to different landing pages. Okay. Now the second example here is the middle funnel example. Let's say now the angle is going to be something like, I still eat bread and pasta, I just changed when I eat them. And so what you want to do is something like this. So you want to show in the visual, okay, you want to show your product first, and then in the visual, you want to show your target audience eating pasta with the testimonials of being like, with this product here, I lost X much without cutting carbs. So instead of putting just a product in the middle of the image with a plain background, what I did, I showed the actual avatar here doing what I am saying. So this person here is eating the actual carbs, and as you can see, this person is also slim. And so I'm saying, I lost this person here, which is the actual reviewer in this case. I lost this much without cutting carbs, and the picture shows me, like this person here actually eating carbs. Okay, and another example here is like, I lost 18 pounds without cutting carbs, and this is like another example here, another like a visual example showing the actual size of fat lost is something that could be triggering a different kind of thing. In this case, more like a visual appealing, and maybe like triggering more the visual element, and then people are like, oh wow, this is like how much I can lose visually, and so it might convince them to click and buy the product as well. So this is something you need to consider. And finally, the last thing that I want to mention here is that one of the most important things that you can do here is actually show visually what your product does. So actually visually show the transformation that your product offer, and so the visual transformation that your audience will see if they use your product. So this is an example. Show someone slim with the drone of the fatter body here and the oversized jeans here, same as here. So this is what I mean by showing the visual that match the message or the angle. And that's basically it for this video, guys. If you have any question, feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to reply to everyone as usual. Remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video.